Hi guys, I just wanted to talk a little bit about language helpers, some from my experience and from the experience of others. First of all, what do you want to call the person that you're looking for? You might want to come up with a phrase that said something like, I'm looking for someone to practice the language with. I'm looking for someone who might be able to help me with the language. You just mainly want to avoid that word, teach me the language. You're looking for a person that's going to have time to work with you. That's a big consideration. Um, Sometimes it's a person, if a person's working three jobs and has a big family, obviously they're not going to have very much time. A person, sometimes it's a person that actually may have a physical handicap, and so they're not working and they would have time, or an older person. Sometimes a young person is just excited about the chance, so they might make the time. But you want to choose someone that's probably going to be more available. And so, where do you actually find a person like that? Well, you can ask around. You can ask the pastor at church. You can ask your former missionaries. You probably don't want to get somebody that has worked with a lot of other people, maybe through the school. Uh, they already come with an expectation um, of how they want to be a tutor. So that might not work. You might just meet someone, then say, "Hey, would you be willing to maybe come over and or meet with me and maybe just speak the language with me so I can get some practice or something like that." Um, you don't want to. People might recommend to you someone that used to be a teacher, and so I have my little apple here and my little blackboard. And no, you really don't want to someone that used to be a teacher, because they will be teaching you and telling you what to learn. And you want to be, a big thing is that you want to be in control of your language sessions. You don't want someone to be controlling and giving you lessons every time. And it's kind of easy to slide into some passivity in your language sessions and let somebody take control. But you want to set up the expectation from the beginning that you will be the one um, um, that's deciding what you're actually going to talk about, or what you're actually going to do each time. The other, okay, so once you have identified maybe a person that, and also wanting to say same sex, obviously. Age can be a factor, but usually any age combination can work. Um, Also, a consideration is you probably don't want to go together to the same session. I would each have your own language helper. So how many times a week is my little calendar? How many times a week? What's optimum for meeting? Well, part of that depends on how big your homework load is going to be in language school. Maybe in language school you want to just try for one time extra a week. I think optimally it's probably twice a week or three times a week if you're not in language school. And then how much time should your language session be, just to set up expectation for that person, how long actually you're going to be together. Oh, another consideration, back up for a second, is how long is the commute for that person. If they have to take three buses, then that's going to be obviously an obstacle. Language sessions probably plan for at least an hour and a half. Um, and after that, your brain just gets tired. They get tired. So probably an hour and a half. Um, all right, so another consideration is that you don't want to set up in a sharing situation. I think you discovered that with the speaking partner, and that will be a motivation for some people to say, okay, half English, I'll teach you English if you teach me Portuguese. That just cuts your language time in half. It also cuts your focus in half. Um, and say you can, maybe you're going to have a stock answer that we're just not allowed to do that. Although I did hear that may be one of the expectations that your supervisor, the other missionary couple, has on you. I mentioned that today to Hannah, that I would try to postpone that, because it just gives you, it puts your head in a different place. Also, it's probable that they are probably going to speak. You will speak more English to them than they will speak Portuguese, because that's the language that you feel, obviously, that you feel more comfortable in. Also, to realize that for every it's my little planning book. For every language session, you need to plan ample time to plan for that language session. So if you're going to be spending an hour and a half in a language session, just count on at least a half hour to an hour to plan for that session. So you don't just show up, you've got to have plans. And I know that MTI gave you a really good set of plans that you could just follow to get started with. But then when you're getting down to more specific things that you want to practice and get from your language helper, then it's going to take more time to plan. So just think about that. Also, where do you meet? That's another consideration. I really like the idea of going to their house instead of them coming to you. It's probably more likely to happen if you go to them, and because then they will be receiving you. Also, instead of them having to get out of the house and get to you, there might be more distractions, but plenty of times the lady I was working with, she'd have to get up and fix a meal or take care of a crying baby or put a baby down, or somebody comes to the door, the husband's home, or whatever. But it gives you a chance for some cultural observations as well. And I think that's a really important part, if you can manage that. Meet in a coffee shop, yeah, you could, but you're not going to be able to record in a coffee shop. And that's also an expectation to set up at the beginning, is that you will be recording these things, and you can show them what you will be doing with the recordings. But yeah, you're going to have a lot of background noise if you meet in a coffee shop. You could also have background noise in the house as well, but that may be a reason to get the external mic. Another consideration is how much are you going to pay the person? Well, or should you even pay? There might be people who will volunteer and say, you don't have to pay me anything. But actually, I think that you should insist on paying them for their time. If not actually money, then in some kind of gift or something that would keep them motivated. And honestly, a lot of people do have a good heart. I want to help the new missionaries, but a lot of people just need the money, and it, like I said, it does keep them motivated, and it puts your relationship on kind of on a different level. That this is a professional thing. I really need your help, and I appreciate your help. How much to pay? You can check around. Maybe a teacher's worked as a tutor. How much did they charge? You want to pay more than just household help? wages. You want to pay less than a professional job. How much a teacher, how much does a teacher get? So that's a consideration, that as well as is like actually how much to pay. Do you pay them twice a week? Do you pay them like every time they come, or um, I would pay once a week. Then it keeps them motivated, and keeps them coming. So that's pretty much what I had to say. So it's definitely a matter of prayer, and I think you can really look forward to seeing the people that God's going to put in your path.